Whether it's the regular season or the off-season, we have you covered as we give you the best Tennessee Titans and NFL news and insight that a fan could ask for. You're watching the Titan Upload Network. The Power Hour's on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. Looks like Tyler's going to be missing another show, but that's okay. I will explain what's going on at the end of the show, but I promise you, he's okay. Everything's all right with the family. I promise. He'll be back more than likely next week. I will give you an explanation. I know you all are anxious, but I can assure you, everything is fine. That being said, I definitely wanted to get somebody in on the show that I could talk football with, and I've got a pretty good rapport with, and I really enjoy the company of. So I thought, let's reach out to one of our good buddies. Let's reach out to somebody that we know is a Titans fanatic, just like we are at the network. And it makes sense because he's well overdue for a visit, and I'm super stoked to have him in joining us tonight on the show for probably the first time in a good while. It's our good friend Colton Hicks, TikToker extraordinaire and tailgater Esquire. Colton, it has been about a year, but we are glad to get you on the show. Thank you for guest hosting the show with us tonight.
I greatly appreciate it, man. You got me blushing a little bit. I greatly appreciate it. I will say, I got to give a huge shout out to you, man. The weight that you have lost. I haven't said anything about it, but dude, you look fantastic. That is the biggest props to you to be able to completely change your lifestyle the way that you have. Huge shout out to you about that, man. That's an incredible achievement that you've accomplished.
Well, I don't want to gush too much about myself. I mean, that's only 124 pounds, you know.
It's only, you know.
That's it. I mean, in an 8-month period, so, you know.
God, that is an incredible achievement. Absolutely incredible.
You know, it's dedication, and it's just wanting to do better for yourself. And, you know, that's all good. You know, I feel better. I feel like I fit more in frame. I'm not expanded in the frame. So that's a little nice. But
one day I'll get
there.
Thank you so much. A lot of this frame.
Well, you got big personality. You got to take up the frame. So that's no problem.
That's right.
That's why we got you on the show tonight. We got to get some big personality to fill in the void that we got Tyler out for right now. But that's all good because I knew you were the man up for the job. So I know I'm not wrong on this one. But it's great seeing you, Colton.
It's great seeing you too.
But we've got so much to talk about, y'all. We've got Titans Seahawks to break down. We've got some big questions to ask as the season progresses. And of course, the last preseason of the game will be on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on NFL Network and Channel 2 locally or TennesseeTitans.com. We'll get to that later. But first, Colton, you ready to dive into the first topic tonight?
I'm ready.
Getting into it, jumping into our first topic of the night. I'm Michael Bishop of the Power Hour. Thank you for joining us on the show tonight. And let's jump into the kickoff now.
And here's the kick.
So, Colton, I mean, it's obvious injuries are going to continue to pile up with training camp going on and preseason starting to pick up things. And one injury I definitely have been taking quite awareness of seems concussions are still an issue. We're still trying to figure out how we can make this a little more workable to get the players more acclimated to the regular season. But I mean, regardless of whatever we do, I still think it's going to be a problem no matter what they try and find on a short-term or a long-term situation. So that being said, I have noticed the Guardian caps being used in practice this year. It's now mandated that players use the caps that aren't at the quarterback position. But I do think it's beneficial because we have seen guys been able to take advantage of that situation, and we haven't had any concussions as far as I know on the practice field, but that's not the case with the game field. So starting out with the topic of the night, we all know that the Guardian caps are basically approved this season if players want to wear them in game situations. So what's your take on the Guardian cap potentially being used by certain players in game situations. Let's start out with that.
Yeah, so with my background, I was actually an equipment guy at Western Kentucky, and whenever I was there, the Guardian caps were actually just first being introduced into football. We had a lot of questions about them, and back then, we weren't really using them at the time, just because there were issues with warranties and whatnot with them, but a lot's changed, and the Guardian caps themselves, I did a little bit of research on it, and per the NFL in 2022, they did a data analysis and they found that certain positions that were wearing them to start off, which was primarily your linemen, your offensive line, your D line, your linebackers, the ones that are really getting a lot of head to head contact consistently, there was a 52% reduction in concussions in those positions. Now, obviously, it's not going to be 100%. That's just, this is football. This is a very violent sport. So you're never going to be able to completely eliminate concussion. It's just not going to happen. That's just not realistic. But there is data that does back up the Guardian caps being they're actually effective in reducing concussions. And so I'm really not surprised to see them being used in training camps. Now, obviously, it's really come down to who's going to be wearing them in the games. And, like how goofy are they going to look? There was a picture circling with Jonathan Taylor. He was wearing the Guardian cap with they had a sleeve over it to where it looked like the helmet. It's one of those things where I don't think it's going to become like this mass thing where everybody does end up wearing them in the NFL. When it comes to the gardening, it's all about, the disbursement of the energy behind it. And don't get me wrong, it does help where it's able to have one initial shock and it disperse, then it hits the shell itself, and then it disperses to there. So I really more see of, Vices, Rydell, Schutt, all the big helmet makers out there just essentially coming up with a new design that's going to be able to resist more impact than actually seeing these Guardian caps becoming a more primary thing. I think there's just the aspect of when you're a football player, you go out in that field, you look good, you play good. And I feel like there's a mentality to it where, it's good during practice because you don't have millions of people watching you, but when it comes game day, it's a little bit different. So I do definitely expect to see them more on the practice side, but on the game side of it, I fully expect the big helmet makers to go out there and really just design and continue to just alleviate their, the science on it and just overall make a better effective helmet instead of the Guardian caps actually becoming a primary deal.
And obviously you have an intimate knowledge, working as an equipment manager, working closely in a situation with the helmets and getting to know, how they structurally work better to make the players more efficient and protect them. So, how are the helmets different from 10 years ago?
So, well, here's a good example. I actually have this is actually a Tom Brady replica of his VSR4. So as you can kind of see, the inside padding of it, it's just a very simple, I don't even know. I don't even remember exactly what we call it. It's just that old school padding that we got in there. And
the hard sole. Hard sole.
Exactly. And with these guys, they can absorb impact. They just don't do it very well. When Vices came out with theirs, I want to say that they used it was a mixture of it was like a tire rubber was like that. It was like a 1-inch padding. It was like a tire rubber to where it can actually I remember you can actually physically press down on the Vices helmets and it would actually have some give to it to where it can absorb the impact. And I see them just continuously trying to. I remember there was this one article that came out where someone they tried to say, well, what if you put water in the helmet? Can water try to eliminate that? And I'm just thinking that ain't gonna work. There's no way. One, it would weigh down the neck, and everyone's heads would be sore. It'd be too much. It'd be just a bigger weapon using water. But yeah, no, there's a lot of different technologies that they're using. I know the tire rubbers, the big one that Vices does. At least it was a couple years ago. The technology just changes so much. Rydell has the precision fits where they will actually put the players in, they'll do a full scan, and the helmet is specifically designed for that one player, and hardly anybody else can use it. Now, it's not to say that others can't, they're the right measurement size they can, but in general, though, with those precision fits, they're designed specifically for that guy. So there's going to continue to just develop the technology to where eventually there's, work to bring down the concussions and whatnot. I do see them going away from the hard shells, though, and having more of a resistant shell. That's the big thing.
And that's a good point you bring that up because, existentially, the NFL is always looking to try and progress the game. And they've done that throughout the century, as long as the games existed. We went from one point to basically guys just sharing equipment to having leather helmets to moving on to hard shell helmets. And it progresses on and so forth. I mean, especially to the point where you had players laughing at the fact that wearing a face mask at one point.
Yeah.
So, you know, let's start with that. I mean, Rydell's definitely the premier helmet technician in the world when it comes to NFL football. I mean, with the Guardian cap being just an accessory right now, I mean, how long do you think Rydell's going to wait till they actually start being more interested in trying to perfect this design and make it more their own?
Well, I mean, I definitely think that it's the top priority for all of them. I mean, no matter what. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's going to come down to how much money can these guys make, and if Vice is pulling a lot of the business because they're able to develop a safer helmet, then Rydell's going to do whatever they can to bring up their technology. So it really is just going to be a race to whoever's going to be able to have the safest helmet. Like Vice's right now is. Like Rydell is definitely one of the more popular ones, mainly because of cost wise. It's only I think $250 a shell compared to $1,200 for a Vices. So the cost wise is very different. Now, this is the NFL, so money isn't really a problem for these guys, and the players actually they can pretty much pick whatever helmet they want. They get a full lineup, whatever they want, legal face mask and everything. So it's just really going to just continue to just see how well they're going to be able to evolve it and eventually do move away from the hard shells. That's the big thing that I fully expect to see is the hard shells being gone, and they're going to create a more impact resistant style helmet that's going to be able to have some good give into it.
And I mean, the situation is, I don't think, regardless of whatever they're doing moving forward with the design, it's going to completely eliminate concussions.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's
you're
just
hoping to
impossible.
just cap the idea of the number continually growing. And I think this helps, especially in the practice sense, and them expanding it out to games. So, I mean, we've already seen Jonathan Taylor take a chance and try out the helmet and basically just give a test run with it. And as funny as it looks, basically like Granny knit something right on the helmet.
Yeah.
I mean, how far along the lines do you see this becoming a reality down the road for more players to come?
I mean, there's probably gonna be a handful of them, especially guys that do have concussion. Like they've just had concussions over their past, and they just know that they got to protect themselves. So I mean, it's not crazy to think that we're going to be seeing linebackers, D line, offensive linemen putting them on. I don't think it's going to be a full NFL wide thing. I'd be very shocked to see any quarterbacks wearing them. Definitely the receivers and the corners. I mean, they're let's say the skills guys are a bunch of divas. They want that swagger. They want to look good. And frankly, I mean, just look at D Hop right here. Like he ain't got the swagger wearing the Guardian cap. He just doesn't. And that's a big thing with these guys. I mean, they want to look good when they're going out playing. They don't want to become the laughing stock on Twitter or anything like that. They want to go out there and they want to look badass. And it's going to be more from a look
that's
standpoint.
true. That's true. But at the same time, there's some dudes that just drip that kind of swag. Doesn't matter what they wear, they can just pull it off. I mean, I'm not saying D Hop doesn't look. He's not. I'm not saying he's 100% pulling it off, but I'm not saying he is either.
Yeah,
Some dudes just got that confidence. It just doesn't matter what they wear. You could wrap them up like that kid in Little Giants and bubble wrap. And they still going out and they balling.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why like it's not to say that we won't see it happening. I do expect until the next like revolutionary helmet that does come out. Like until that happens, I do expect to see a handful of players in the NFL starting to rock them weekly. But I just don't see it being a full NFL wide takeover deal.
So, I mean, of course, the NFL wants to give the players choice on this. They want them to just, if they feel that this is a safer measure for them to take it, if they can. But I mean, let's be honest. There are certain players that have been hindered by a lot of head injuries. Traylon Burks being one of them. Now, I'm not saying that he should or he shouldn't, but I mean, put yourself in Coach Cowley's shoes for a minute. I mean, what's your best motivational way to just help him along, especially knowing this has been a hindrance for him the last couple of seasons?
Well, it'll help having a quarterback that won't throw him the ball in positions to where he will get rocked. that'll be a little bit more ideal. But I mean, a guy like Traylon Burks, I mean, obviously, having the new coaching staff and the receiving core, it's really boosted his confidence up. And, so from a mentality standpoint, I definitely hope he's in a much better mindset. But I mean, again, the best ability is availability. And if he's a guy that's like, all right, I've had my head rocked multiple times, I've got to stay protected, I got to do what I can to stay on the field. Maybe the guardian cap is something that he's like, you know what, let's give this thing a whirl. Let's see what happens. It's just one of those things we're just got to wait and see.
And Ocho brings up a great point, and this is really cool to hit on. You know, the cap will start looking cool when somebody does start balling out in it. I mean, look at a lot of just, safety features that players have used. Look at a cowboy collar, look at, visors. Players start rocking those and they look good playing in them, especially the play. I mean, that gets a lot of interest.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point you had crazy designs on face masks, but unfortunately the NFL took those away.
Yeah, those things added, especially like the Justin Tuck face mask and they're like the Ray Lewis, just added so much extra weight up front. But yeah, again, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just one of those things that I just don't see it being a complete league-wide takeover. I expect, whether it be Vices, Rydell, or Should or whatever, to just make the next generational helmet that's really going to be able to just be more absorbent, really just disperse the energy in a much better way. I mean, hell, there's a reason why cars get absolutely crushed whenever they get in accidents, because they're able to disperse the energy. It's just finding a better way to where the energy will not be targeted directly to the head itself.
I mean, the NFL definitely moves on, especially when it comes to equipment and equipment safety and the safety of the players in certain situations. But obviously, concussions still being one of the issues in the NFL they're still dealing with. Of course, the cap's going to be a big issue, I think, for the next few years, especially debating if they think it's more beneficial for players to start mandating that they wear them. But I don't think that that's going to be the case. As Colton said, I think it's going to continue to be a choice as long as nothing major happens. And unfortunately, I mean, that kind of seems to be the case, Colton. It always takes one of those just crazy things that happens that changes the whole narrative on it.
I mean, hell, we've seen with the hip drop tackle. I mean, that got banned after, was it like 3 players, let's say, just absolutely blew their ankles out or whatever. And now they've just, and what's crazy is I saw a video, I can't remember who it was one of the, I think it was like Saquon Barkley maybe, talking about, like, man, I've maybe been hip dropped like 5 times my entire career, if that. And so it's one of those things where you don't even see it very often, but the NFL just saw an opportunity. It's like, okay, because no matter what they want, like the NFL wants to make it known that player safety is a top priority. So they're going to do whatever they can to enhance that. And, we've seen that with the hip drop tackle and now with the guardian caps. I mean, I don't see it being full on mandated. I fully believe that it's one of those things where it'll be the choice of the player, as it should be. And, we'll see what happens from there.
But I agree. I mean, as long as the player continues to have a choice in the matter, I think that's what's going to be the situation for now. But I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL decides to mandate it somewhere down the line, especially, years ahead from now. It's a progressive league. They want to find ways to continually to get their star players out there and play for the long stretch of time, especially knowing that a potential 18-game season is going to come ahead. And they have to find every way they can to protect these guys out there, even if it means taking away one of their freedoms.
And like that's the thing with the helmet is that there's a reason why it's been known that the helmet is a weapon, because when you have that level of protection, especially with a hard shell, you got a strong face mask in front of you. You can use that with your tackle to bring a guy down. If you're able to change the helmet to where it's going to be more impact resistant, less hard, more soft, then the players are going to have to really start to change how they tackle instead of maybe going head first, which, I mean, they get flagged anytime they do that already. And then, if it's more of a soft shell where it's like, okay, if I lead in with my head on this, I might break my neck and say it's because I don't have that same protection now. Then they, change the way they tackle, protecting the head a lot more. That's something that I really hope that the NFL really looks more into trying to get done with a new design of the helmet in general. That way the players will really work on keeping their heads safe instead of, going head first into somebody. They'll really try to go in with the shoulder and protect it.
Hopefully that's the case, that they're able to continue this at least progressive way, and it doesn't end up being a forced decision going down the road. But regardless, the cap's going to be here. It's an option for now, but hopefully it's still going to continue to be a player's option going forward. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick 30-second break, and we'll come back. We know what you want to talk about. Pretty great game, but there were a little bit of flaws and a few questions that we'll get to, especially getting back to the Titans Seahawks recap. So we'll take a quick breather before we get back. So don't worry, we ain't going nowhere. We just got to get off and just get a little bit of resetting doing. So I promise you. So right back after this.
Roundtable Sports Network brings you NFL divisional debate coverage on a weekly basis from your favorite content creators across YouTube. Featuring the AFC East Roundtable live Monday and Wednesday evenings. The AFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST. The NFC South Roundtable live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST. The NFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST. The AFC West Roundtable live Tuesdays at 9 p.m. EST. The NFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST. The AFC North Roundtable live Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST. The NFC East Roundtable live Thursdays at 6 p.m. EST. Roundtable Sports. Real coverage from real fans.
You're watching the Power Hour with your hosts, Michael Bishop and Tyler Staggs.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. Joining us tonight is Colton Hicks, tailgater extraordinaire and TikTok enthusiast. So we're glad to have Colton on, filling in for Tyler for us. As I said, guys, Tyler is taking another week off, but he will be back, I promise. Everything's fine. No worries. It's all good. Colton's doing a fantastic job anyway, so just enjoy the new. And it's been a while since we've had Colton on here. So, Colton, thank you for joining us on the show tonight.
Glad to be here.
And, of course, before we go any further, let everybody know where they can find your content at and what you got planned up for this upcoming 2024 Titans season.
Yeah, so if you're enjoying what you're seeing from me, so you can always go follow my TikTok. If you just look up Colton Hicks, it'll show up there, or Hicksify. Same with on Twitter. It's like Colton Hicks or at Hicksify. Those are my two primary places. If you want to find me on game day, go follow Two-Toe Blue Nation. We host the biggest, most badass tailgate for the Tennessee Titans. So we got some fun stuff planned for this year. So be sure to go follow Two-Toe Blue Nation. You will find me just many drinks in, having a great time, getting the whole crowd riled up. And it doesn't matter what opposing fan base comes into town, we're going to show them how we get down to Tennessee.
Colton definitely brings the heat. Don't let the red hair fool you. There's a fire burning deep within him. So
that's right.
Check him out when you're out there at Nissan Stadium or even on the road, because this dude will be out there. Football is in his DNA. And of course, guys, don't forget, if you love the show, help it grow. Follow the Titan Upload Network on Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, and X at the Power Hour 615 for our own network. And of course, at the Titan Upload Network, wherever you find your Titan Upload Network content. And before we get into the next segment, got to get it to the comments real quick, because love you guys, miss you. And it's always fun to talk to you on Monday. So Sin City, good seeing you. Tighten up. And good evening to you as well. Leon Yoder, good seeing you too. Good evening. Good seeing you. Ocho bringing in another good point. If the helmet is soft, it won't stop impacts to the ground, turf, grass. Colton, I'll let you grab that statement if you want to have a quick one-on-one with Ocho on that.
I mean, like we said, it's football. You can't eliminate concussions 100%. Learn how to fall. I mean, you know, it's football. People are going to get hurt. People are going to get hit. They're going to get hurt. They got to do what they can to protect themselves.
Gravity can be unpredictable at times, but you just do what you can do. Titan Brothers, saw his show last night. Good seeing you on the show. I'm doing good. Colton, are you doing good?
I'm fantastic.
Everybody in the chat looks like they're doing good. I know Rossi's feeling a little under the weather, so hopefully we'll get him back tomorrow. So if you're looking for Rossi's morning show this morning, sorry, he was just under the weather, but hopefully he'll be back and going at it tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Who's doing a morning show at night? My scatterbrain. Sin City says, hey, we all have a few spots left for the Titan Upload Fantasy Football League. Good point. DM Rossi for details, 12 men per league. So if you are looking to join one of our fantasy football leagues for the Titan Upload Network, get in touch with Rossi. He'll hook it for you. I know it's a pay for play kind of thing. They want to make sure that everybody that does this is committed to it. But hey, you're going to be well rewarded if you win this. So trust me, they've got some pretty sweet. They got some pretty sweet prizes. So if you want to join the Titan Upload Network Fantasy Football League, get with Titans Rossi, DM your information. I think it's $100 to play, but it's all season long, and there's some pretty amazing prizes in store. So check it out. Get with Rossi on that. Francisco Cruz, let's go. Hi, everyone. Tighten up. Good seeing you, buddy. And, of course, shout out to Top Tier. Tighten up to you as well. So got the comments in. Good seeing everybody. I think we know what we want to talk about. We want to talk about the game. So, Colton, you ready to jump into it?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
It's time to talk some football. Jumping into segment 2. Let's hit Titans talk. Going in now. So the Coach Cali era is off and running in the preseason. But I will say he is 2-0 in the preseason.
Undefeated. Bring the Super Bowl. Super Bowl's coming.
But
Brian
hey,
Callahan
feels
is
good.
undefeated as the Titans head coach. Super Bowl incoming.
In the preseason.
We'll
got to get those punches in. But hey, this was a pretty fun game, especially when in the last fourth quarter. So, I mean, got a lot to talk about on this one. The Seahawks and the Titans joint practiced all week. And Colton, before we even jump into the game, the practices, it was a pretty up and down endeavor. So the offense seemed to be off at times, and then they kind of were on at times. But hey, Denard Wilson has his defense clicking, apparently. So before we jump into what we loved and what we hated, I mean, what did you think of the joint practice situation going forward?
I mean, the joint practices are always extremely beneficial for both sides. You know, gives you some good competition. You know, as far as what what can you see with other guys in the league? And even though it was up and down, it's kind of expected with the brand new coaching staff. You know, everyone's still learning a new system and whatnot. The goods were good, but the bads were also bad. Overall, though, I mean, it seems we were able to at least get the win in the preseason game. And overall, I mean, I feel like it was a pretty successful little mesh that we had, and it was good to see that. Good to see the Titans get out there and get an old dub, even if it's in the preseason.
And Sin City's correcting me on this, so thank you for letting everyone know, Sin City. It's $50 to buy in for the fantasy league. So, I mean, you could throw $100 in. I mean, all this money's going to go back into the network anyway, and it's how we keep making content for you guys. So if you want to throw an extra 50 out there, I ain't going to be mad at you. Shoot, you might even get a step up. I'll let Rossi talk to you about that. I'm not saying yes, but I'm not saying no either. But regardless of everything, the practices definitely took a little bit of toll on the first teams. So plenty of rest for the offense, plenty of rest for the defense. No need to get these guys ruffled up. So, I mean, what was your take on that, Colton? Were you happy that the starters took some time off, or did you feel that they might need just maybe a little bit of serious work to just kind of work some things out going forward?
And you're referring to the preseason game, right? Not the practice, right?
Well, basically the practices leading up to the preseason where Cali decided starters are going to rest.
Yeah, so I mean, these preseason games are not designed for your. I mean, obviously, you want starters to get in, get a little bit of rhythm, get them working together a little bit in a game-like atmosphere. But these preseason games and training camp especially, it's really figuring out where your depth is. If a starter goes down, what are they looking like behind them? Are you going to have a good next man up? And so I was fine with no starters really playing, especially since Callahan's come out and said that for the 49ers that most of the starters are going to be playing for a good majority of the game. You really want to figure out where your depth is, what are you looking like, and there were some guys that really did pop, other guys that just completely just hit the floor. And that's what, and again, that's what you're looking for. That's what you want to see. You ultimately got to get this roster down to 53 people, and who's going to be able to fill those spots, who's going to be the most impactful, who's really going to be able to jump in the moment's notice if something were to happen. And there were some guys that they looked really good. It makes me feel a little bit comfortable. All right, the starter goes down, we can plug him in. He's going to be all right. And then again, that's just what these preseason games are designed to do. You want to see your depth.
I agree. I mean, I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I feel it's more beneficial for teams and the coaches to have these joint practices because it's more intimate. It's more of a one-on-one situation, and you're really getting a lot of work done. I mean, the thing is, I'm not willing to risk major injury in these preseason games. And we already know eventually kicking the can down the road, they're eventually going to just basically eliminate one of the preseason games in order to make it an 18 game schedule. So that's just more money for a home game. That's more situational money for players. And it's just more opportunities for the fans to see more football in meaningful positions. So I'm on that end of the spectrum, but I digress. We got a lot to talk about. So let's start with what we loved. And I mean, there was a lot to love in this game, but Colton, you went with probably one of the most fan favorite of the night.
Yeah, I'd say when was the last time we saw a 59-yard field goal happen for the Titans? I couldn't tell you. I think Ryan Succup's longest was 55 yards. Like we have not seen a 59-yard boot in a minute. And it was good to see the kid from WKU, that's my alma mater, Braden Navarson, old Narvi, being able to hit that 59-yarder. It was exciting. I mean, even if it was preseason, the fact that he was not able to make that could have probably made it from 64. I mean, that ball had some room. The kid's got a leg.
And I think that's the best place to start. And Mitchell Austin basically agrees with your sentiment. I think we need to have a field goal kicker competition. If we cut the young kicker, he will definitely be picked up. And he thinks he should consider at least cutting or trading Folk. So let's get everybody takes in the comment while we're discussing a little bit more in depth on that. Do you feel that Varson's basically needs a little more of a look, or do you feel that the Titans should stick with Folk this season on his 1-year deal? So what's your take on it? I mean, Colton, what do you think's the best way going forward with
here's my deal with Narvi. All right. I was at WKU when he was there. I've seen his college career. I've seen it happen in person. He was inconsistent. I think he made like 75% of his field goals that were not extra points. Very inconsistent kicker, a kid that would miss a simple 40-yarder, that there was like a 37-yard that he missed. But then he can go out there and he can just absolutely launch it, hitting that 59-yarder. So it's the consistency is the big thing. And as Titans fans, especially over the years of just bad kickers that could not make a simple extra point, like there's nothing that just gets you more riled up than seeing your kicker not be able to actually be consistent. And that's the thing I want consistency. And on top of that, we've signed Nick Foles to that 1-year deal. It's guaranteed money. If this isn't out of the spectrum, I do think it's a possibility that could happen. Obviously, you'd have to reduce a player at a position, but it's not crazy to think the Titans could roll with both kickers. All right, Nick Folk is a very consistent guy. He can make anything from 45 and under. And then if you need somebody to go out there and make a 52-yarder, a 55, 59-yarder, going ahead and send Narvi out. It's not crazy to think the Titans could hold 2 kickers. We've seen other teams do it. I think the Colts were one of those that did it a couple years ago. So I don't think it's out of the question. So if you want that kid that's going to be able to boot it long term, maybe you just do going ahead and keep him on the not on the practice squad, but just keep him to where he's active. I don't think it's out of the question at all. But ultimately, I do think Nick Folk is going to be the kicker. I don't see him getting cut. They signed him to the 1-year deal. They gave him guaranteed money. He is consistent. He might be 40 years old, but he's somebody that if you need to go kick a game-winning 40-yard field goal, I'm going to trust in him a lot more than I would Braden Narvison. Straight up, I would. But I do see a world where both kickers could be on the roster.
Get into the comments real quick before I jump in with my take. So Mitchell says, I think we need to have a field goal competition. And I think I read that comment, but yes, I think that's a solid idea, Mitchell. And I think next week against the Saints, it's definitely going to sell that narrative even more now, knowing that Narvi's basically going to pick up where he left off and maybe have a chance to compete for this job with one game on the line. Shout out to Ryan Harris. Good seeing you, buddy. Check out the Jump Pass podcast. Ryan does a fantastic job over there at Let's Be Real Media. So good seeing you on the show, buddy. Good seeing you. Mitchell also says we had a game-winning 61-yarder before, and I would have to look up to see who did that. If anyone in the chat knows, go for it. I mean, I know Baronis definitely had a 60.
Rob Baronis did it.
He had a 60-yarder against the Colts, and that's definitely just one of his claims to fame.
I think we've had 17 kickers since then.
Natova played 39-year-old that missed 2 extra points last year. I say that it is the time. Folk is okay, but not the future. Mitchell also says, I think trading a player a year early is a solid strategy. And Titans Bro says, I think put Narvi on the practice squad and give him a real shot next year.
I mean, as long as he wouldn't get stolen.
That's where I'm at with this. I feel that coming in this year, you're going to have maybe at least 3 or 4 teams that are going to look for a kicker to potentially replace a guy they don't really love. Like they like him, he's serviceable, or maybe there's just a little bit of inconsistency. And I'm not saying Narvi's been perfect. I mean, from what we've heard, especially from Sam Phelan, who's been at the practices and watched him perform, he's had his fair share of misses. I mean, with Nick Folk, I look at the situation like this. You've committed for a year with him. I think it's safe to say that you want him to handle the job. You could move Narvi to the kicking, as the kicker to the practice squad. But the thing is, I mean, if a team's desperate enough for a kicker, if they don't like their guy, or if an injury occurs, I mean, teams are watching this stuff. And him hitting from 59 yards and a game winner, I mean, somebody's going to be interested, especially if they're in a situation where they need a guy. So you don't want to lose a guy where he could potentially move on and find success. I screamed at the top of my lungs when the Titans had an opportunity to get in, Cameron Dicker, the kicker from Texas. Now he's growing in the role with the Los Angeles Chargers, and he's probably going to get an extension down the road.
So I really wanted Rand KOLTON to go get that kicker from the UFL. I think he's with the Lions now, who just booted like a 68-yarder or something like that.
And the Lions lost their regular season guy to an injury. So
yeah. So I mean,
there's
going to be kicker options. Obviously, it's just about finding who's going to be the most consistent behind him. And Soundwave, he basically commented what I was about to say as far as if you were to have 2 kickers, Malik Willis is a guy that you would put as like that emergency 3 QB rule that they got, put him on B squad.
And Soundwave brings up that point too. I mean, I don't think it's impossible to see Narvi going on the practice squad. I think Malik's going on the practice squad as well. There's not a big market for Malik, and I don't know who was pushing the narrative of that he was a trade piece. Somebody wanted him. I mean, he's serviceable. And I think in the right system, he could do well as maybe a backup even, but just right now, his market's very thin. So I think that's what's going to end up with Malik in that situation. If the Titans can hold on to Narvi on the practice squad, I think they'll try. But at the end of the day, I know people are going to bring up the situation with Stonehouse and Kern and have that kind of similar take. But the thing was, A to Z brought this up, this morning. Stonehouse, they knew.
Yeah.
Kern knew as soon as the ball went off his foot. Yeah, this guy's good.
And we don't know that with Narvi. He's just been inconsistent. And that's what you need if you want to be someone in the NFL is consistent. He wasn't consistent in college. He hasn't been consistent in training camp. Yeah, he showed up in the preseason game, but what's it going to be looking like? If we got to kick a game-winning field goal against the Jets in the home opener, like who are you going to trust more to be able to make that field goal? Like I'm putting Nick Folk before I do Narvi, straight up. I 1,000%.
Nacho says he's wanting to keep about 6 wide receivers. We can't keep everybody, and that's the point. That's the main selling point, Ocho. I know there's guys we don't want to see leave and go to other situations, but that's the NFL. That's how this just plays out every year and in every training camp. If the Titans feel that Narvi's the guy, and I know this is brought up, especially, from Nina Tova, this is a year about being in new blood mixed with vets. It isn't a year of playoff hopes. If we're honest as fans, Narvi getting a year of real games under his belt makes sense. And that's a fair point. I'm fine with a guy going out there and getting his feet wet, especially knowing that this team We don't know what this team is.
We
That's
don't
the
know,
bottom line.
But to say that this isn't a year of playoff hopes, and again, I know there's a lot of different people that, that there's a lot of both sides to it. I think that right now, with what Rand Carthon has put together, there's a reason why a lot of the guys that he has brought in, they're a little bit older, a lot of veteran guys. I mean, hell, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Calvin Ridley, he's 29 years old now. They're bringing in some older guys. They understand that Will Levis is currently on that rookie contract. They want to try to win a Super Bowl before they got to go pay him the big money and he chews up 25, 30% of the cap. Like they want to do whatever they can to make a push while they don't have to pay Will Levis hardly anything right now. So yeah, I mean, this year I definitely think playoff hopes are definitely. I don't think it's unrealistic. A 9-8 year, not impossible, slipping into the playoffs. That's not out of the question. I fully believe that with right now Will Levis's rookie deal, they're going to do whatever they can to try to make a run before they got to pay him the big money.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. My thing is, in a year we do have transition and you have an opportunity to bring in a younger guy that could have a high ceiling, and it's a gamble. If you feel that good about committing to that gamble, then do it. That's just part of playing the game. Sometimes you got to take chances. Sometimes they pay off. This is with every team. The Titans are no different within this. Inconsistency is one thing. But if you feel good enough and the coaches feel good enough that if this kid gets an opportunity and he's worth given this opportunity to, then take the gamble. By all means. I mean, we never knew what Harrison Butker was going to be. We never knew what Matt Stover was going to be. They were just players that had a gamble played.
If Narvi can end up being the next best kicker, the next great thing since Rob Baronis, I'm all for it. I would love to see it happen. I'm just not getting my hopes up based off what I've seen.
But like I said, if they feel that the gamble's worth gambling, take it. But of course, at the end of the day, the coaches are going to make the best decision with whatever player they feel is going to be the most solid on that job. And if it's Narvi and if it's Folk, they'll make the move. Trade's not out of the question either, but I mean, that's another topic within itself. One thing I definitely loved, and getting to mind real quick, Mason Rudolph's leadership on the field, it seemed, job 2 is his. He goes in, he solidifies, he runs the huddle, he moves quickly and efficiently, and I really just enjoyed watching him play. I mean, I feel comfortable knowing that you have a solid QB2 option. If ever, and I hope this isn't the case, Will Levis has a situation where he's down and out and we need a guy to step in and handle the offense.
Yeah, I mean, having Mason Rudolph, he's top 5 QB2 in the league, in my opinion. Like, he's a great option. Like, of all the backup quarterbacks you could have, he's not a terrible option at all. To think that maybe, if we just lost our QB, we got to go play the Chargers. Can Mason Rudolph go win us a ball game? Not out of the question. Not out of the question at all, especially under Brian Callahan's offense.
So we definitely have a super chat, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, but moving on because we definitely have a good bit of stuff to talk about. So got to keep the show rolling. Got to get to the stuff we hated. And Colton, I mean, offensive line, miscues, mistakes, penalties. I would not want to be in that meeting room today with Bill Callahan. I'll just put it to you that way.
Yeah, no, that man, and that was the importance of the preseason to really figure out if J.C. Latham goes down for whatever reason, or Peter Skronsky, Lloyd Cushenberry, like, what are these backups looking like? Are they at least serviceable? And they got some work to do. They got some serious work to do. They had 5 penalties, I think, just on the offensive line. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 5, could be 4. Can't remember off the top of my head, but man, they had a couple of good plays where they were able to keep a clean pocket, but vast majority, man, they was getting absolutely manhandled. And I mean, hell, even on the run game, not really able to open up a whole lot of holes or anything, not really able to move their guys. Like, there's a lot of work to be done with the backup. The starting 5 looks solid, but Not in this game, but the one before. But yeah, no, the backups, man. I mean, there's a reason why they're backups, but I'm not very comfortable in the event one of the starters goes down, seeing what's behind them.
Yeah, especially just on the right side of the ball. It was infuriating, especially it's the simple things that killed 2 drives early in the game, and the whole narrative changes right there.
Yeah.
Maybe the Titans are able to get points off that situation. Maybe the Seahawks don't carry the lead within the second quarter. That narrative opens up wide open. And there are comments once again, real quick. Ocho says, nah, keep Folk for real. There will be more kickers. I don't know, Ocho. I mean, when guys get their guys, you don't see a lot of good kickers fall through the sieves. And when the good kickers get injured, believe me, it's even harder.
And we have seen that time and time again over the years.
Yes, Tennessee's definitely had their fair share of problems with that situation. Don't want to go back to that. Tova says, I've been a franchise fan since 1974. I've seen this before. Underdogs are always dangerous when they wear blue on blue. Hopefully that's the situation moving forward. And, of course, Super Chat. Thank you so much, Leon. We appreciate that. And you get the special button.
Wow! Look what I found, Ma!
Huge shout out, Leon.
So from Leon, he says, I'm not expecting playoffs. If we get there, it will be a strong testament to Levis and Callahan, and would mean we will be serious contenders next year. That's the hope, Leon. I really hope that's the situation. If we're talking about that in December, that this team's like on the verge of potentially like locking a playoff berth or even a division, that changes the entire narrative. I think it's easy to dismiss what Brian Callahan can be, but people have done it, especially in the national media, because it's easy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Titans are just, we're a small market team. I kid you not, every single other team, whenever they're looking at their schedule, they see the Titans and they say, dub. Every single time. You ask anybody in the NFL, whenever they're playing the Titans, like, oh, that's an easy win. It's like, you guys have no idea what we are cooking with down here, all right? The Titans and Will Levis, Brian Callahan are just going to absolutely shock the NFL, going to shock the nation. Will Levis is about to be the next best thing. There's going to be mayo cologne and just mayonnaise everywhere. It's going to be great. I fully believe, all right, this team is going to be able to do incredible things, and nobody's going to be expecting it.
This is why you bring Colton Hicks on your show, because he's bringing energy, and he's going to bring it at the full 400-degree fire.
I'm always ready to tighten up. I believe in Will Levis, all right? They're going to do great things, fantastic things.
Colton will be the excited one. I'll be the statical one that just sits and says, we'll see. That's just my take. Hitting us with the comma, maybe the apostrophe, the offensive line. Yep, I agree. I'll tell you, the first quarter, like I was like angry. Like I was just seriously angry. Like this is like day one stuff. I do not want to be in that meeting room on Monday with Bill Callahan. I don't even think he'd be like just livid at him. I think he'd just give off that disappointment vibe. And that's the worst part. He's a coach you don't want to let down. I don't think Bill Callahan's going to like tear your ass up, but I think he's that guy that's going to really let you know he's disappointed in the work you put in.
He's going to look
He's
going to look right at your eyes and be like, look, man, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I know you can do better than this. He's going to give you just the most dad look you can possibly get, and you're going to feel disappointment and shame. And it's only going to make you go back on that field and work twice as much harder.
That's what we're hoping. I hope those dudes walked in there like, yeah, I let you down, coach, but I'm going to get in there and I'm going to get that work in this week. So hopefully that's the narrative, that these guys understand what they're playing for. Good seeing you, Ronald. I sure hope we are not so fucking dumb, but chick, as the gamble with proven veterans is Nick. Would be cool if we could somehow keep Narvi on the squad and give him some more clutch chances, though. Nice pun, by the way. Second stringers were just speed bumps, not guards or tackles.
that's
Ooh,
that's
that's
probably
cold.
that's the most accurate assessment anybody could have given right there.
That's cold but accurate. Speaking of speed bumps, I saw Dennis Daly's going to be released by the Cardinals. So,
Oh man, R.I.P.
Mm.
I literally never thought in a million years we cut Dennis Daly and would say, you know what? It couldn't get much worse than that. And then lo and behold, here comes Andre Dillard, and the rest was history.
if ever that was a TikTok meme, just, what could go wrong? Oh no, it all went wrong.
Everything.
It went so wrong. Stone House is the same guy. If we remember, he turned out all right. And that's true. If they want to go with Narvi, we're hoping that's the output that happens. Thank goodness for the Raiders. Taking all that shade from the Titans. I'll definitely say for the Packers' sake too, for taking Andre Dillard off our hands. I don't know how that's gone. I don't think it's gone good. So, when cut day comes, it's probably not going to go well.
Yeah, I remember seeing a Packers post about it, and I commented on it. I was like, look, we tried to warn y'all. Like, we tried. Like, y'all should know what you're getting yourselves into with him.
Yeah, as a proceed with caution kind of thing. And you learn the hard way. And Upload said this time and time, if you want to learn truly about who a player is and he's coming from another team, ask their fans. They will not steer you wrong.
They will let you know plus some.
Ocho says, if the Titans can win the AFC South, I'll be proud. Ocho, if they win the AFC South, then I'll be shocked. Because as I said last year, when Jacksonville had everything lined up for them, I said it was theirs to lose. And I've said the same thing with the Texans this year. It's theirs to lose. So take with that what you will. Tom Wishaw says, should Callahan be happy with the 2 minutes in the preseason game since he was not very happy after last Wednesday and Thursday practices? I don't know, Tom. I don't know if he wasn't I don't think he was livid or anything, but I know there were some situations I think he wished he could have had back. Even in bad practices, you still learn something.
Yeah, I mean, every day, everything you do is a learning opportunity, and that's why we got the preseason games. You figure out what went right, what went wrong, and grow from it, be better. They're going to coach better. They're going to play better. They're going to be better.
And that's the truth. I mean, I'd rather make these mistakes now than them playing games in December and January, and then those mistakes become critical. Titan Pro says if we win the AFC South, then that probably means CJ Stroud had a sophomore slump.
Which I have been saying, I have been saying that. If you've been watching, I say it typically whenever I go live on TikTok or whatever, don't be surprised if CJ Stroud does have a sophomore slump. Don't be surprised. There has been so many great quarterbacks in their rookie year, or so many quarterbacks in their rookie years where they do great things, and then the next year everybody's got film on them. They understand his tendencies a lot better, and these defenses are going to adjust. They're going to make it happen. So don't be surprised to see CJ Stroud go down a little bit. Not saying that they won't win the South. I do expect the Texans to ultimately win the AFC South, but Titans going to be getting some wins against them Texans, though.
And I mean, they could. I mean, the thing is, even in the games where the Titans are probably going to be heavily just the underdog in a situation, look at the Miami game last year. Did anybody realistically give the Titans a shot in the national media? I mean, I'll even be honest. I felt the Dolphins were going to keep it close. I didn't think the Titans were going to get blown out, but I still felt Miami was going to win. Everything was lined up for them. Miami just came out and just laid an egg.
Especially with 4 minutes left in the game. I think everybody thought the Titans were out. But with Will Levis at the helm, anything is possible.
But, I mean, at least this time around, we're talking about having a Will Levis, 2 dynamic running backs, a way better wide receiver room, and hopefully an upgraded offensive line.
TNT, baby. Tony and Tajay. They're dynamite. They're explosive.
Let's hope that explosion just rattles a few cages out there, though. Texans have a history of highs and lows. I need them to return to the days of being cellar dwelling cockroaches. I mean, the Texans are going to be a problem, and we'll see what CJ Stroud does. I think Bobby Slowick is going to make a really good head coach, and he's going to be a head coach after this year because he's going to be the hottest commodity in the NFL. But, that's where you're really going to learn about a quarterback. Do they need an offensive coordinator to help guide them to be successful in the NFL, or do they have that kind of just swag that moves them to the next level, like a Patrick Mahomes or a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady? I mean, that's the difference.
Gotta stay consistent.
But my hated point, just Trey Avery's consistency, and I'm not going to dive into that too much. As good as a game he had in rankings and grade-wise, which was about a 73 on PFF,
that's why you can't trust PFF.
Trey Avery's like Taco Bell. You like it, but at the same time, it's going to make you pay eventually.
That is quite the analogy there.
You want it to work out, but sometimes the wrong things got mixed together and it just turned out disastrous. And that's not a knock on Trey Avery. He has his moments. I wish they were more consistent.
Yeah. I mean,
hence his inconsistency.
Yeah. I mean, Eric Garr is a lot better than him, and that says a lot.
I mean, with the injuries, though, he's got a shot. I'm not going to count him out yet.
I mean, a solid number 5, which if he's your 5th best corner, you're not in terrible shape. Just means that Caleb Farley must really continue to stink.
Ah, Natova, come on, that is so June. or is that the name of your fantasy football team? Hint, hint.
That 15 minutes of fame is come and gone.
They lived up to the hype, though. I'll give them that. Not many people can stretch it out that much. Tony Pollard. There's something for a t-shirt. Eat that Taco Bell. Get that taco smell. Fire sauce in and out. Titan versus, I think Avery is very consistently bad.
Yeah, that's accurate right there. Again, he's a solid number 5 corner, right where he belongs. I do not want to see Trey Avery starting at all. Not at all. Just stay on special teams.
Let's go ahead and hit our surprise bit of the segment. So, I mean, definitely player-wise, I thought Quinn Jackson had a really solid game, and he keeps building a stock up, especially knowing that this team continually needs to find some solidity at wide receiver and at the special teams position. So love what I saw there. But, Colton, David Martin Robinson,
yeah,
he's been making a really strong case.
He has definitely been shocking. There's the kid from Temple, and he's just trying to make this roster. I mean, he reminds me a lot of what Thomas Odukoya did last year in preseason. Really showed up. I mean, don't get me wrong, Odukoya didn't make the active roster until I think late in the year or something like that, or he might not have it all. But he's showing up. He's somebody that's actually, it's like, all right, this is a kid that would be, if for whatever reason Chig went down, Josh Wiley went down, he's not a terrible option to have as your number 3 tight end. He's somebody who's really balling out, and he very well could end up making this active roster.
And I mean, if he doesn't, I think a year on the practice squad and continuing to develop, that's a good opportunity for him as well. You can never have enough playmakers and eventually blockers, and I think he can do both extremely well. So
he's a great option to have a tight end for your depth. Again, we need the depth. We can't be relying on Chig and Josh Wiley. If one of those guys goes down or both go down, he's going to be the next man up. He's so far from what we're seeing, I feel pretty solid at the tight end position. I really do. I love what the DMR's got. It was a great weapon in Call of Duty. He's a great weapon on the Titans field.
We'll see if that transpires, if he gets the opportunity to make the active 53. And, of course, we'll also show you who we felt the player of the game was. So I felt Narvi definitely deserved it on my end. But, of course, the defense continues to show up and show out. And Jalen Harrell, while it was Chance Campbell had last week, Harrell is showing, yes, I am ready to have a job on his team.
For a 7th-round pick, with there being hardly any depth at the edge position, Jalen Harrell is a kid that I am beyond surprised. I didn't know much about him when he was at Michigan, and this kid has shown up. And I mean, he reminds me of what Caleb Murphy did in the preseason last year. I mean, he just absolutely taking advantage of his opportunities. And this is a kid that more than likely is going to be getting some playing time. Because I do expect Arden Key, good thing he's no longer getting suspended now. But Arden Key and Harold Landry, I fully expect something to happen injury-wise. And, who's going to be the next man up? I've got good belief in Jalen Harrell to be able to go out there and just dominate the way that he just did in the preseason game, even as a rook.
And the 7th-round pick connected up with our good friend, Teron Davenport. Shout out to Ron for letting us use his clips, by the way. Had a discussion about his camp experience and what he's expecting going forward as the season progresses.
It was better than last week in the rush game. Still some things I can work on, but overall, I feel like I got better from the week.
What is it that's clicking for you? Because you stacked a lot of good days.
I feel like I'm just getting a good feel of the game, getting a good feel of tackle sets, and really just been working with my coach, Coach Blow. He's been on me, doing a hell of a job, just working on my angles and stuff like that. Just learning from Harold and Arden, even Weave and Murph, all the guys in the room. But like I said, I just feel like I got a good feel for the game and good instincts. So I feel like when I just go out there and play, just go out there and rush or say that or whatever, I just got a good feel and I could just react off things.
See, and I love that about Harold. He's just moving side to side. He's just energetic, still filling out the media process as a rookie, but he's just got that energy about him. And I'm ready to see what he can do next week against the Saints.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, they're going to be starting, a lot of the starters out there, but I hope Jalen Harrell is going to be able to get thrown in there with the first-team guys, and I'd love to see what he's going to be able to do. I mean, as a 7th-round pick, if he's able to be impactful, especially as a 7th-rounder, just like James Williams, who I have been so big on James Williams. Love that kid. He's an honorable mention. All right. Big shout out James Williams, the heat-seeking missile from Miami. All right. Both of those guys going to be very impactful this year. They might not play a lot, at the beginning because they're still rookies, still young and whatnot. But I'm just going to tell y'all right now, don't be surprised if down the road these guys start getting some serious PT and they're going to be making some plays.
Still learning the system, but a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement for these young players. Titans are 2-0 in the preseason. Even though it's the preseason, builds some excitement, builds a little bit of steam, especially with a team that's trying to continue to build their culture and understand what it takes to be successful in the regular season. So see it as a blueprint, but the Titans have done a pretty good job so far. And with the looming Game 3 with the Saints on the road, which will be a big test, we'll talk about that after we take a quick 30-second break. So hang tight, guys. We're going to catch our breath, and we'll be right back after this.
You're watching the Power Hour with your hosts, Michael Bishop and Tyler Staggs.
The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming you on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. I'm your host, Michael Bishop, and as always, thank you for joining us on this fine Monday evening. What can I say, y'all? You have been phenomenal. I expected nothing less of you. You showed up, showed out, gave some amazing comments, tremendous support. Because of you, the Titan Upload Network continues to be an amazing success because of your support and for your super chats as well. Shout out to Leon Yoder one more time for that. So before we go any further, round of applause to you guys for everything you've done. And of course, guys, don't forget, sharing is caring. If you love the show, share it out with all your Titans friends and family, or NFL friends and family in general, because we love talking football 24/7, 365 at the Titan Upload Network, because that is our specialty. And of course, we got to give a special shout out to our guest host, Colton Hicks, TikTok extraordinaire, tailgate enthusiast. He has been phenomenal. We appreciate him taking time for joining us on the show tonight. And Colton, one more time for our fans out there, let them know where to find you and your great content out and what you got planned for this upcoming 2024 season.
Yeah. So let's say if you're enjoying seeing the old redhead right here, you can always go follow me on TikTok. It's at Hicksify. You just look up Colton Hicks. That's Colton with a K, Hicks with an X. Same with on Twitter as well. You can find me there. And if you want to see me on game day, all right, you got to come join the biggest, the best, most badass tailgate of the Tennessee Titans. That's Two Tone Blue Nation. Just make sure to go follow us on all of our socials. All right, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we're the best. All right, there's no question about it. If you're looking to go party it up with the elites of tailgating, Two Tone Blue Nation, that's who we are, and we love it. We get loud, we are proud, we tighten up.
It's not cocky if it's true, and believe me, the truth has been said right here. So,
oh yeah,
check him out once the regular season starts, and he's got some amazing TikToks. Get into your comments real quick before we finish up the show tonight. You guys have been phenomenal once again. Harold is a beast. We hope that that's going to be the situation moving forward, especially if he locks in on the 53. Ocho says, Jaquin Jackson is my player of the game, and I agree. And his stock continues to rise. Give credit where credit's due. Mitchell says Harold had a 20% rushing win rate last week. Michigan, and I hope that's a situation moving forward. I mean, especially the fact that he continues just to get to the quarterback and just give offensive tackles problems. Harbaugh and his players NFL ready. I'm a Michigan fan. That's fine. I don't care where you're playing college ball at. They're professionals now.
Hey, he got to go enjoy a national championship, unlike the rest of us.
Like I said, it's NFL now. They're looking to bigger and better things. So, we'll see if he continues to play at that high level. Next week will be a pretty good matchup. Harold's the new Bud Dupree. Keep him as a fourth. I could see that. I mean, I'd say a smaller Bud Dupree, but we'll call it for what it is. Saints have always seemed to have an upper echelon defense. I mean, they also find a way to keep moving around the salary cap for the last decade, but
oh my God, the salary cap is non-existent in New Orleans.
No, they find a way around that one way or the other.
The crazy stuff.
Okay, now I saw what you're laughing at. Maybe we can make a jersey out of that for you. I mean,
the Jolly Ginger. That's hilarious.
That sells. That sells.
That would sell.
I could dig it. Hey, no worries. You don't have to be perfect here. We're not judging. You're trying to get your comment out. I understand. Believe me. But if I can read them, I will definitely read them. I want to make the effort since you made the effort to type it. So no worries. One more comment before we get to the final one. Billy Jones. I'm going to the game in New Orleans. I hope to see the place. Well, Billy, I hope that you do too. But regardless, hopefully it's a good game for you. And, just be careful in New Orleans. And yes, it does smell like that all the time.
I was in New Orleans for week 1 last year, and man, I gotta say, Bourbon Street tore me up, and getting in and out of that stadium tore me up as well. It's a very old stadium, very not friendly getting in and out of there. People were fine, didn't really have any issues with the fans, but man, that stadium is it's a trip getting in and around.
It definitely is. I mean, like you said, people really enjoyable, but let's just say, smell wise.
Oh my God, it's worse than Broadway, and that says a lot.
Oh, that's just, that's centuries. Just think about that. Just centuries of partying.
Yeah.
So just please be careful out there, Billy. We hope you have a good time. But closing up shop, guys, we appreciate you for coming in. So let's hit the damn theme music.
Closing time. Good night, losers.
And of course, to close it out, Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, the final preseason game of the Tennessee Titans season as they travel to New Orleans to the Caesars Superdome, where they will play the New Orleans Saints on NFL Plus and on News Channel ABC or on TennesseeTitans.com. So, Colton, before we wrap everything up, what are 2 takeaways we should think about as the preseason finishes up? What do the Titans need to do in order to be 3-0?
Well, as far as becoming 3-0, obviously, it's a preseason game. So, me personally, I don't really care how the scoreboard ends. I really just want to see, what is this team going to be looking like? And Brian Callahan has said that the starters are going to be going out there for a lot of the game. Obviously, Brian Callahan's not going to be throwing out his whole playbook in the preseason game, but I want to see consistency. I want to see the third down conversions. I really want to see that. That's a big one. Is can they convert on the third down? And on the defense side, can they get off the field on third down? Limit the penalties and just show that the starting squad is going to be a team to be just absolutely reckoned with. And then, whenever the backups do come in, are they going to be serviceable? And who's going to be making this 53-man roster? Who are the guys that are really going to be able to shine, show what they can do, show that they belong on this team? And, there's going to be some guys that it might be their last chance. It's going to be their last opportunity. And, I can only hope that they actually go out there and they do what they got to do. But at the end of the day, these are going to be some hard decisions that are going to have to get made by Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan.
So in terms of playing time with the starters, what do you think would make you feel a little more ease with the final game? Would you think at least 3 series from what Callie's been saying, or do you think a half would be more beneficial for these guys, especially since taking last week off?
I would definitely say the first half. All starters need to be playing that first half. You don't want to go into week 1 not having that timing down, having your rhythm down. You want to get them in a game-like scenario. Just a first half is going to be hands down probably the most effective way in the preseason to limit your injuries, and 2, just get good reps that the team that whenever they get back home, they can go ahead and look at the film, see what went wrong, what went right, and then whenever the backups do come in, which ones are going to be shining, which ones are really going to show them, or which ones are going to show up and show that they belong.
So basically, after this game, for some of these guys, it will be the final time that some of them could wear an NFL jersey. So what is one player you think that will make the team and one player that you think will miss the cut?
This is going to sound kind of crazy, but Mason Kinsey could honestly make the roster. It sounds kind of wild, because there are a lot of different receivers out there. But Mason Kinsey is somebody who, he's shown that he can be in the return game if needed. He'd be a good, a solid number 6, number 7, just because, we did see last year that, Will Levis did have a good connection with the slot guys. I don't see Kyle Phillips making the roster. That's the guy I don't think makes it, is Kyle Phillips. I do not think Kyle Phillips will be making the roster. I won't be surprised if he gets cut. I think Mason Kinsey will be taking over him. I think that between Kyle Phillips, really it's going to come down to his injuries. That dude's just never available. It's always something with him, and Mason Kinsey should show him better. So those are my guys.
Good picks. My cut, I'll have to say, unfortunately, it's going to be Caleb Farley. I think right now the Titans have seen all they can see out of him, and it's unfortunate. I've always felt it's hard to call a guy a bust when he can't do anything health-wise, and it's out of his control that he can stay on the field because he just can't stay healthy. To me, it's almost it's just a different category when a player can't make the league because of their health. I can't blame that on them. When a player just goes out and just has no talent in the NFL level and just can't adapt to what they're looking for, that's the definition of a bust in my take. Caleb Farley, to me, is just one of those unfortunate situations. A kid that had a high ceiling, high potential. He just couldn't stay healthy.
Man, it does stink. I mean, don't get me wrong. Whenever the Titans drafted him, freaking J-Rob was just all about guys that have slipped down the boards because of injuries. But it's like this dude was the biggest medical red flag. I mean, knowing that he has a degenerative spine and you want to take him in the first round. If he was a second round pick, these conversations wouldn't be going as crazy because, like, you know what, it's a second. You know, he's a guy that if he was healthy, you know, could have gone in the first. That's one thing. But for him to be the first round pick, that's really just kind of killed him as far as what the fans think of him, and then having all these different injuries pile up on him. Now, I don't know if they will cut him because I think it's like what, $4 million in dead cap if they do cut him. I know there's like the financials are a little bit weird. But yeah, I mean, I could definitely see him getting cut. You know, it's not like he's really adding anything to the roster. He's had a good training camp. That's been one thing that I know. TD, he was in a space on Twitter, and he was saying that Caleb Farley, he's had a pretty good camp, but he's also a guy that, you know, he's never available, and I could definitely see him getting the boot.
So to me, I think that's my cut candidate. And, you know, as you said, there's financials with it, but I think there's a way they can try and make that work. But, you know, availability, it matters. But a guy I think would make the 53, and this could be a shock to people, Thomas Odukoya.
Oh, yeah, 4 tight ends is out of the question.
I think, you know, Cali already went on a tangent, you know, on Monday or Sunday, and basically said, you know, if they could keep 4 tight ends, they could. And I think that's on the table. And it kind of seems a lot of his ideas he's been saying out loud for what he wants to set up for this team long term going forward into September. So I wouldn't be shocked at all.
But what does that say about Nick Vanette? Because he's currently listed as number 3 tight end right now.
I mean, Nick Vanette better go out and like ball out.
Yeah, I mean the DMR, David Martin Robinson, he's been showing a lot more than what Vanette has.
I mean, that doesn't mean Vanette can't go and be on a practice squad. I mean, a lot of these guys are going to get practice squad opportunities. It's just, you know, there's a difference between being a practice squad guy and a regular roster guy.
For sure.
Money wise, I mean, especially.
Yeah, big time.
But regardless of that, we'll see a really good game on Sunday, and we'll get all our answers the following day. And, of course, the next day we'll figure out how the practice squad shapes up. But either way, it's going to be a really busy week. But fun regardless, because that just means regular season football. It's only a couple of weeks away after that.
Oh, I'm so ready.
So that being said, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Power Hour, guys. You've been phenomenal. Your comments were phenomenal. You just nailed it out of the park. So one more time before we get out of here, round of applause for you guys. And of course, before we get out of here, want to give a special thanks to Colton Hicks for joining us on the show tonight, for being our special guest host on the Power Hour. And we want to make sure you want to give another shout out where you can find his great TikToks and content. And of course, where you can find him out there at Nissan Stadium if you're ever at a game.
Yeah, I'd say again, if you want to come check out my TikToks, all right. Whenever I'm live streaming, I'm typically playing college football or Madden. Love to talk a lot of ball. Then I'd say I'll just have general talks in general. And yeah, find me on TikTok at Hicksify, or just look up Colton Hicks. That's Colton with a K, Hicks with an X. Same on Twitter as well. On Twitter, whatever thought just comes to my head usually just goes right there. And some people like it, others don't. But yeah, it's a fun time.
He's all about a fun time. What more could you ask for?
Exactly.
But I'll tell you what you need to be asking for. You need to be asking for more live watch parties for Upload. So make sure you check out the party on this Sunday as we wrap up the preseason. Upload will be doing that. You guys have been killing it. We had about 5,000 viewers on the last show, and on the 49er show, I think we got about somewhere between 11 and 13,000. So you've been killing it for us. So just keep doing what you're doing. Keep sharing the show. Before you get out of here, tighten up that like button for us. Subscribe if you hadn't, and ring the bell for more notifications as we continue to put out more content for you in the future. And of course, don't forget, we are going to continue to put out great content on all of our platforms, whether Facebook, TikTok, or X. And join us tomorrow night for the roundtable. Rossi has a show with those guys. They're phenomenal. And of course, we'll get more episodes of our podcast, The BS Report, not Upload affiliated, of course, but we'll have more episodes as soon as Tyler gets back from his sabbatical. So Thank you guys for joining us on the show tonight. It has been fun. It has been phenomenal. And we are going to get out of here, and we will be back next Monday. Another shout out to Colton Hicks for joining us as our special guest host. Thank you once again, Colton.
I appreciate you letting me on here. It's been a fun time.
That'll do it for us. So for Colton Hicks, I'm Michael Bishop of the Power Hour. And as we always say, take care and tighten up.
Tighten the hell up.
You're watching the Titan Upload.